Focus on your health, not your weight. Hello everyone, welcome to BMC Global Live Al-HILAL Health World. I'm Swati and today we have Dr. Sandhya Ramaswamy here with us. She is a pediatrician at Alhilal Hospital, Adlia branch, and she has a total work experience of 20 years in the field of pediatrics. So happy to have you here, doctor.
Thank you, Swati. It's my pleasure.
So, due to the prevailing conditions right now, due to COVID, just like adults, children also are suffering from correlated conditions. So, what do you think is the most pressing issue in children?
Swati, that's a very good question. Actually, you must have been discussing about the problems children have been undergoing in these COVID days. And actually, the more the greater problem is children are sitting at home without much physical activity, and so those children who have the tendency to put on weight will finally end up having obesity. And obesity is a condition that should not be taken very lightly. It is one of the serious medical condition that has to be addressed. The sooner one addresses it, the better it would be for the children.
So doctor, we have seen this in parents, but how do you diagnose obesity in children?
Yeah, there are many techniques for diagnosing obesity in children, but the most simplest one is is measuring the body mass index of the child, which is called BMI, which takes the weight in relationship with the height of the child, specific for gender. So once we calculate the body mass index, we will plot it on a BMI chart, which is again gender and age specific. And if it falls above the 95th centile, then the child is obese. If it is between the 85th percentile and 95th percentile, the child is said to be overweight.
Okay. Now, what are the causes and risk factors of obesity in children?
There are several causes, but the most glaring one, the most common one is increased consumption of food and reduced activity, physical activity. And there are other causes like could be genetic, hormonal, or due to some medications. But the most common one is this, where the child is eating more and burning less. So this is the most common cause of obesity.
Doctor, so in what way does it affect children?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. Mothers or parents, they tend to neglect actually what obesity would cause to the child, if not now, in future. Actually, we were all under the impression that, general impression is that obesity affects only adults and it would result in many comorbid conditions, but even in child. An obese child can have physical problems, emotional problems, social problems. On the physical level, the child will develop type 2 diabetes mellitus, hypertension, then high lipids, cholesterol levels. So in this way, it can appear, what appeared in adults usually later in life will appear earlier. As young adults, these children, because they carry on the overweight and obesity into their adulthood, youthhood and adulthood. And hence, very early they will end up with all these problems. And it can cause stroke, myocardial infarction and so many disasters actually. Apart from that, it can cause sleep disorders in children and in adolescents, especially in girls. It can cause menstrual irregularities, it can result in PCODs. So these are some of the implications that can happen due to obesity if it is not tackled at the earliest.
How do children manage it and what are the precautionary measures?
This is actually very important because it is not the child alone that you are going to target, because what happens is that a child becomes obese because of the prevailing conditions in the family, because they tend to follow what parents do. As I said in the beginning, that reduced physical activity and increased consumption of food, because they are not balancing, whatever we ingest has to be burnt. the calories. But in children, in obese children, what has happened is they go on consuming more calories, but they do not burn those calories accordingly. So usually children follow the adults, the family. So the family members as a whole, all of them should in fact involve in this in the management of the child. It's not the management of the child alone, it is in fact the management of the entire family, because it is the child imitates parents. If the parents, you know, are lazy, children also tend to be lazy. So usually what happens in obese children is, especially during COVID times, they are sitting for long hours in front of the computers, and they continue to sit using laptop for video games or mobiles for whatever reason.
So how does this affect the children?
Yeah, actually we are all under the impression, we were under the impression that obesity only affects adults, but actually all the problems that adults have will come earlier in children, like type 2 diabetes mellitus, hypertension, and high cholesterol, stroke, heart problems. Then it can also, social problems it can result in, like the child will be conscious of his body, and he might be bullied or teased by his friends, so his self-esteem will take a dive, his confidence will be lost, and he can go into depression. If you take the females in particular, in adolescence, they can end up with PCOD or menstrual irregularities and early puberty. These are some of the problems that can happen to obese children. And so they are quite, they are actually very, major problems that can become chronic and affect the daily activities of the child.
And so how can they manage it, and what are the precautionary measures?
So management is actually, the principle should be prevention is better than cure. So once the child is obese, it is not impossible, but it takes a lot of perseverance, patience, for the child to actually revert back from his regular habits. So prevention is the best way. So how one prevents is, the family should set a good example in their eating habits and in their physical activities, their lifestyle basically. So they should see that they are only promoting healthy foods to the children, and they are also consuming healthy food, and they are all not lazy people, they are also active the whole day. And seeing them, even the children also, they inculcate those habits. Parents shouldn't sit and watch TV for hours and sit at one place, laze around. They should be active, do work, and they should also inculcate this habit of having some kind of physical activity every day. So the child is also involved in those activities. So, and then when they are eating, they should not eat watching TV. So they should, the whole family should eat as a, eat together, are happy or something. We have seen that. So that's how it starts with the family actually. And the parents, so this is all preventive measures. So this is how the child also will be very active. He or she will not spend time sitting hours with gadgets, and they move out, they go and play. Parents should encourage them to go out and play. Of course, during COVID times it is a little difficult, but then parents can accompany them for some few minutes at least. Ideally it is 60 minutes every day that they have to have some amount of physical activity, but it can be split up over the day in portions, 5-10 minutes or 15 minutes like that. You don't have to have a physical activity which runs at once 60 minutes. So it's not like that. So at least 60 minutes of active physical activity has to be performed by the child. In fact, all family members, and this should continue as adults also. So eating healthy and physical activity, this is the main thing, and then they should have enough sleep. It is seen that studies have shown that children who sleep less, they also end up becoming fat, obese, and then they should never miss breakfast. This is very important, and the snacks and the meal times should be fixed regular, so there should be some kind of discipline, and snacks also should be healthy snacks. The parents should not label that this is good food, this is bad food.
Yeah.
Everything they should be given, but in small portions. Yeah. So generally what the parents do is they keep a plate, adult plate, they put so much of food, and then they insist that the child finishes, empties the plate. It should not be like that. So the child should be given the choice how much he will be eating. Yeah. And then the child also should be involved in cooking and in household chores. In that way they are also active, and they will also develop some taste, some kind of interest in the foods, and they also develop healthy eating habits. So these are some of the ways that you can prevent. And treatment is, again, the goal of the treatment is not to reduce the weight. It is not weight loss in children. The goal of the treatment is change the lifestyle.
Okay.
So change the habits of the family, because generally what happens is the parents will single out that child. Okay, you are fat, so you are not supposed to have this. So it doesn't work like that. In fact, they also should prepare food that is wholesome for the whole family, and the child should not be made to feel, okay, something is wrong with me, and because the child can again go into anxiety, depression, stress, things. So the focus should be on changing one's lifetime, the lifestyle of the entire family. Of course, there is no substitute for physical exercise. The child has to be put in some kind of activities, outdoor activities or indoors also. Because of the COVID times, this is quite difficult, but as much as possible, you can take the stairs instead of the lift, and then you can take a bike instead of car, the bicycle instead of cars. So in this way, somewhere you are involved in using, burning the calories. So in that way, and then keep a fixed time for taking walks or running, or the children can be put for dance. And what else they can do? They can put in swimming if possible.
All the physical
sports. Yeah. So in this way, so these are the two main things again. One should not expect the child to lose weight quickly. It doesn't happen. Slow and steady wins the race. So it's a slow process. So we cannot push them for these diets, that adults do. So weekly diet or 7-day diet, we have so many diets. It doesn't work with children like that. These young children, we cannot force them to go on these diets, and they cannot go on these crash courses, and it is not right to restrict their diet, because they need good healthy food, need nutrition for their growth and development. They are growing kids. Therefore, it's better to see that their weight is maintained the same, but they are growing in height. Otherwise, if you restrict, then their height, everything, overall, their development is stunted. So these are the ways. So the focus is not on the child, but the focus is on the family. And this is how it works. So the focus should not be on the child. Since he is obese, the focus should be on the family, and focus should not be on the weight. Focus should be on the healthy food, healthy habits. So this is what, and these are some of the ways that you can tackle. As I said, prevention is better than cure, but if the child is obese, we should have some patience. We have to follow the same principles, but with patience, because it is the slow and steady that wins the race that I already told you before. So.
Now to the most common question, that is, can obesity in parents be passed down to their children?
Yeah, obesity can be genetic, but you don't find all children who are born to obese parents are obese. So obesity is an interplay of genes as well as environmental factors. So if generally obesity you find in family is because of their sedentary lifestyle and their eating habits.
For sure.
So if the child is encouraged to have a more non-sedentary lifestyle with lot of physical activity and his the eating habits are regulated, healthy, definitely the child will not become obese as parents. What do they say? They say that obesity does not run in families, but it is present in families who don't run. So, so that is how. So it's not necessary that a child will become obese if the parents are obese, if the other factors are taken care of.
And lastly, what is the takeaway message for the audience?
Yeah, takeaway message is family involvement is very important in child's life. So children will follow the adults. So adults should set a good example in their lifestyle and eating habits and physical activity. So the take home point is obesity in children should not be neglected. And if they have any concerns, they should talk to their doctor. And it all depends upon parents ultimately, how they live is what influences the child's life, their eating habits and physical activity. So obesity is a preventable disease, so we should not wait.
Thank you so much, doctor, for your time today.
Thank you so much, Swati. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Hope you all found today's episode informative and useful. Until next time, this is me, Swati, signing off. Take care and stay safe.